She made me feel like I left this man alone. I never quite figured out why she gave the heart to me. Jayde was a superb wife. There was nothing in life I could do without Jayde by my side. Jayde was my drive to do better. Jayde kept me going.
Welcome to Books and Booze, a bookish and wine and juice podcast where we sometimes record true crime episodes. Today's case is the murder of Jayde Panayiotou, which occurred in April 2015. Listener discretion is advised. Before I get started on this case, I do want to give a quick apology because this is a South African case and there are a lot of African names in here and I might butcher the pronunciation of them. So for that, I am sorry. I know there's probably going to be a bunch of you that are going to laugh at me. In the early hours of the morning on April 21st, 2015, Jayde Panayiotou was waiting outside her complex for a colleague and close friend to pick her up for work. She worked as a school teacher at Riebeek College Girls' School in Uitenhage. She was just 28 years old. As she was waiting outside, as the sun was coming up, she was hit over the head and shoved into the boot of a car. Cherise Swanepoel is the woman that was due to pick her up for work. When she arrived, Jayde was nowhere to be seen. After being reported missing, police launched the flying squad and the canine unit to scour the Stellan Glen area in Deacon Road, where Jayde resided with her husband, Christopher Panayiotou. Christopher and Jayde had been together for 11 years. It has been quoted that people knew them as an amazing couple, adored by everyone. The very next day, after being reported missing, Jayde's body was discovered near a township in Uitenhage. She had been shot 3 times, once in the head at close range and twice in the back. Her watch was on her left wrist, a bracelet on her right. I bring this up because in South Africa, murders of a woman could potentially be due to a robbery. And in that case, her personal belongings and expensive things such as jewellery should have been taken. Her funeral was held on the 28th of April 2015. Jayde's husband, Chris, led the pallbearers and gave a beautiful eulogy, which I inserted at the start of this episode. As the investigation into Jayde's murder continued, very interesting things came to light. Self-confessed middleman Lutando Siandi reportedly went to the officers and led the officers to more information on the case. Allegedly, Christopher hired a hitman because his wife was a financial burden. The job cost 70,000 rand. He had tried to make it staged as a robbery. Despite these allegations, Christopher portrayed himself as the doting husband throughout the trial. Key state witnesses testified in court. One woman, living on an isolated farm near to where Jayde's body was found, was feeding her grandchild when she heard 3 gunshots in quick succession. Another woman mentioned the 3 gunshots and heard a car speeding away the morning of the murder. Lutando, who had gone to the police, was able to arrange a meeting with Chris in a wiretapped police car at Algoa Park Steers. In chilling footage available on YouTube, you can watch Christopher take apart a phone, give instructions to Lutando, and give him money. In the footage, Christopher seems very paranoid. He asks Lutando if the police were asking about his involvement in the case, because Lutando had told Christopher that the police were hounding him. Christopher told Lutando to destroy his phone and SIM card. He said that he has to tell the police that Lutando phoned him or it will look sketchy. He said that his phone was being traced and his whole family were getting investigated. That's when Christopher leans over the back seat where Lutando was sitting and searched him for a wire. I don't know what made him have that inkling. From what I could see from this recording, Lutando was very nervous, but managed to stop Christopher searching him. Christopher decided to make a plan for Lutando to go and hide in Jeffreys Bay and keep quiet. He said that he would tell the police that Lutando had gone to East London, which is almost 4 hours away by car. Christopher promised to sort out his family if he just hid low and be gone for a few months until things calmed down. He said, "This thing has cost me a lot of money. I told you to let them do it outside the house and take the bags and the rings, and then they didn't take the watch or anything. They just left everything, so it looks like a hit now. So they are after me, and that's why I can't meet you just like this." Chris then exits the vehicle. Lutando then waits for the undercover policeman to come back. This video wasn't available publicly for quite some time, but it definitely was the nail in the coffin of this case. However, speculation around the motive of why Christopher hired men to kill his own wife remained a mystery. Did he really think that by hiring men to kill his wife was the best way to sort out his financial stresses? The case went on for years. However, another key state witness came forward. Her name, Clarissa Capp. She took the stand and told the judge about an affair Christopher had been having with her best friend, Chanel Coutts. Coutts not only turned out to be Christopher's mistress, she was also the personal manager of OK Grocery Store, which Chris owned. The affair started before the engagement to Jayde and continued after their marriage. Christopher would often buy her expensive and lavish gifts. Coutts would go and sleep over at their townhouse when Jayde was away at the farm visiting her family. They also often spent nights together at local hotels. Both Coutts and Christopher wiped their phones of all of their conversation history, saying that they wanted to keep their relationship private. Rumors started to whirl around that Coutts was pregnant. She had to do a blood test to prove the allegation was false. Many other rumors started to make the rounds. Christopher had supposedly bought her a car and a house. These turned out to be false. He had, however, given her a pretty generous amount of money that he claimed was because she'd been a hard worker. However, the payment had not gone off from either of his businesses. It had come off of his personal account. It was only in November 2017 when Jayde Panayiotou was found guilty for the murder of his wife, along with the other people hired to carry out the task.
On count 1, conspiracy to murder, accused number 4 is sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. On count 2, robbery with aggravating circumstances, accused number 3 is sentenced to imprisonment for 15 years. On count 4, the murder of Jayde, accused number 1 and accused number 3 are sentenced to imprisonment for life.
That was the sound of the courtroom cheers when justice was finally given to Jayde. Investigating officer Lieutenant Reynard Swanpool said in an affidavit, "The motive for killing the deceased is actually very simple. The applicant was in financial difficulty. He hardly managed to keep his head above water. He was now in the process of acquiring a further 2.2 million rand debt, which meant it would be impossible for him to keep his mistress and wife happy. He was being forced into creating more debt, so he decided to have the deceased killed, not to gain financially, but to curtail his ever-increasing debt." While Christopher refuted this in his responding affidavit, proving through documents that he had a net worth exceeding 3 million rand, he did end up admitting to the affair. It turned out his father had found out about the affair with Coutts, and he loved Jayde as if she were his own daughter, so he had threatened his son that if the relationship with Coutts continued, he would be disinherited. Now, I really don't know if Christopher is still with Coutts to this day. The drastic measures he took in order to keep one of the women in his life happy could have been made because of his fear of getting disinherited from a family fortune. This is all speculation, but what we do know is that someone has been visiting Christopher in jail, and in December 2018, there was a search done in his single cell, An iPhone 6 and 3 SIM cards were confiscated from his prison cell. Someone has been smuggling him in unauthorized items. I don't know if Chanel Coots is visiting him or if they're still together, but someone put those things in Christopher Panayiotou's possession. Since sentencing, there have been many failed attempts to have his leave of appeal granted. In June 2019, news spread that Christopher plans on approaching the Constitutional Court to try and have his first-degree murder conviction overturned. There has been no update since then. Thank you for listening to this special true crime episode of Books and Booze. You can find us on Twitter under Books Booze Pod or on Instagram under Books Booze Podcast. As always, I would love to hear from you about the content that I bring to you. If you'd like to follow my personal bookish account on Instagram, that is boho_bookworm. We're also on Patreon if you would like to support us by donating as little as $1 a month. And I do apologise, I am in a pub, so there are people drinking beer and having a good time in the background. I'm going to go and join them shortly. If you're looking for a free way to support us, you could leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps other people find us. As always, it has been a pleasure. Happy reading or true criming, whichever is your jam, and just remember to drink responsibly. Ciao.